Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, the Beauty Myth. Learn the beauty secrets of the goddess next door in this action-packed Isis series adventure. Get Isis, the Beauty Myth at online booksellers everywhere today. Over the weekend, Sony's The Woman King wound up becoming the #1 movie in America. And as I facepalm as related to the prospect of this movie becoming #1 at the box office, it doesn't mean that this movie was a success at all. Now, your Sony is trying to spin this opening weekend of $18 million, trying to gaslight people into believing that The Woman King is a hit. But when you look at the numbers as related to this film, it is basically a box office failure, and it's looking like the campaign to boycott The Woman King was a major success. And it's looking like it was a major success because this film only opened at $18 million with a budget of $50 million. Now, the $50 million was for the production budget of The Woman King, and after they spent money for the production budget, they probably spent more advertising this film and trying to promote it. So this means that the studio would have to go out here and make 3 times the production budget, which was $50 million, in order for the film to break even. And they would have to go out here and make $150 million at the box office in order to just break even. So your Woman King, which opened at $18 million, really opened at a very anemic number, and that number really wasn't strong enough to build momentum for this film, because usually once a film opens at $18 million on a $50 million budget, that film is considered to be a flop, and it's also proves that the box office for the next week will diminish by at least 50 to 75%. So The Woman King, would, while it was king of the box office this week, will be crowned a court jester by the end of September, and by that point, your Woman King will be seen as the box office failure it actually was. And what your Sony will try to do is then try to spin it like, oh, this movie was still some sort of hit. But anybody who works in the entertainment industry and has studied the entertainment industry like I have for the last 25 years knows that this film was a box office failure, and that this box office failure is a very embarrassing one for Sony, because again, usually studios, when they launch a movie, they are expecting to make a bulk of their budget back on the first week, and your Woman King did not go out here and open strong, because what would be considered a strong opening for a $50 million film is opening up to $25 to $35 million, and your Woman King didn't open up at $25 to $35 million. So if this film was to be considered a success by the so-called Hollywood bean counters, this film would have opened up at $25 to $35 million, and it wouldn't have opened up at $18 million. But what Sony wants to do is they want to go out here and try to spin the movie as a success, and they're hoping that if they can go out here and say that the movie is a success, they can hopefully persuade people to go out here and go see the movie on the second week. But we all know that most movies on a second week oftentimes have diminishing returns, because by the second week, most people, they don't want to go see that movie, and usually the box office drops by about 50 to 75%. So the whole campaign to try to gaslight people is one that just shows me how unethical the people at Sony are as related to trying to push this movie, which is filled with a lot of anti-black racism and goes out here and chronicles the history of those black tribes that went out here and supported and promoted the slave trade. And I believe that the word of mouth on the Woman King will wind up being the thing that ends this movie, because the word of mouth will probably drop the box office on this movie 50 to 75%. And once more and more black people continue to speak out against this film, it will be a proven box office failure. Now, this Woman King movie is not one I would want to ever go out here and see, because one, we have a film made with a screenplay by two white women, and they are telling the story of the Dahomey tribe, which was participating in the slave trade. And then you have your Viola Davis playing a woman king, which is promoting anti-black racism by promoting the idea that black women are masculine and have no any sort of femininity whatsoever. And the antagonist is a black man, so this is another one of those misandristic anti-black man films like The Color Purple, which was produced by Steven Spielberg. And this is not the kind of film that goes out here and builds a positive image of black womanhood. No, all it does is foster more anti-black man misandry, and also promotes the stereotypes that the racists love to see, the idea of a masculine black woman. And the whole point of this film is to pander to the black woman and promote these kinds of misandristic themes and promote the masculinized image of the black woman, who in many cases is starved for her image, not knowing about all of the products that publishers like myself at SJS Direct produce and promote that present positive images of black womanhood. And because black women don't know about this positive media, they go out here and think that they need to go out here and buy into mainstream media like this. And they think that because this media goes out here and is giving them attention from a mainstream source, they need to go out here and support that media. And this is a covert contract that has been pushed for decades. Black women need to go out here and support this kind of media in order to get better media, but you don't get better media by supporting negative media. No, that's a covert contract that the producers, like the white women in this film, don't need to go out here and endorse, because they're already getting your money. And if they're getting your money for disrespecting you, then you don't get respect by allowing somebody to disrespect you. And this is something that many black women need to understand regarding films like The Woman King. Yes, they are paying attention to you. Yes, they are producing a film with somebody who looks like you, a Viola Davis, an Oscar-winning actress married to a white man. But this is not a film that represents the sisters in a positive light. And this is not a film that we need to support. And even though they try to gaslight us by trying to play mind games by telling us, oh, this film is the #1 movie in America. No, this movie is only #1 because it has no competition, because it has been released during a time period when studios basically take out the trash, and that what they're doing is going out here, dumping this film, hoping to go out here and get whatever little money they can get. And they're hoping to go out here and pander to the black woman by giving us a film that basically is far below standard, and then making black women believe, oh, you've got a success, when you don't have a success at all. Because again, $18 million on a $50 million production budget and a possible $20 million advertising budget. This film would need to make $200 million just to be profitable, $150 million to break even. And if you're opening at $18 million, again, you're going to have a 50 to 75% drop as related to your box office. So this film is a failure on the books, but what they're hoping to do is trick some black women to running out to go see this movie, which is supposed to be about female empowerment, but along with the narratives, false narratives of female empowerment, there is a whole lot of misandry against black men. There's a whole lot of anti-black racism towards both black men and black women, and there's a breathing of brand new life into old stereotypes about black women, where these two white women who wrote this script, I believe, knew what was going on. They wanted to go out here and present an image of a masculinized black woman. They wanted to present an image of an aggressive black woman, and that is so that people won't see the softness and femininity of black women. And again, they've been pushing these kind of narratives against black women for over 20 years, and then trying to make us believe that this is the ideal image of black women, when that's not who black women are. Now, when I look at The Woman King and I compare it to the box office of a Tyler Perry movie, again, Tyler Perry opens at $20 million at the box office and is considered a hit. This film, and that film has a lower budget than this Woman King, but this Woman King is considered a hit, even though it didn't even open up the way other $50 million films opened. And I've seen many other white films that have $50 million budgets. When they open at 18 or 19 million, they are considered flops. But this Woman King, what they want to do is try to spin a narrative, hoping to try to trick black people into coming out the second weekend. But if black people want to take their respect as related to a film regarding slave traders, and again pushing more anti-black racism and anti-black misandry, then black people need to close their wallets and stop supporting this type of material, because we have been promoting and supporting degrading images for the last 20 years, and it's quite troubling to me to see black people going out here and spending money on films that degrade us, like Monsters Ball and Precious, these Tyler Perry movies, or even going out here and having parties about a TV show like Scandal, which promotes the idea of a black woman being a Jezebel. As a publisher who creates positive images of black women, in my books, like the Spinsterella trilogy, the Thetas, A Recipe for Success, the ISIS series, and the E-Steam series, I know it's possible to create more positive images of sisters and positive stories with sisters, and we don't need to keep supporting stuff like The Woman King that makes mockery of black women and then try to tell us it's empowerment, because there's nothing empowering about passively representing black women and aggressively presenting images that degrade the black female image. And then while they're presenting these images, your black women go out here and pay attention to them, never hearing the laughter of the white women who create this media, like they do in the case of The Woman King. And many black folks, again, we have to understand that much of this media that they tell us, oh, this movie's number one with no competition, number one in a time period when the studios basically dump garbage, and number one with a box office opening lower than Tyler Perry. And again, this is all gaslighting meant to get you to believe something that isn't true, because on Hollywood's books, 18 million on a $50 million movie plus is not a hit. No, it's a flop, and it's a flop that shows when black people understand how the importance of their image. They don't support toxic media like this, and all of us staying home showed that we made great success in taking The Woman King out and making sure that this type of media does not go out here and represent us. Now, if you want to pick up some of my positive black media with images of black women, like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the Thetas, A Recipe for Success, all about Marilyn, all about Nikki, and many of my other books, like the Spinsterella trilogy, you can find all of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them on Smashwords, the iBook Store, and Google Play. And if you want to see me make more videos like this, You can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. The goddess next door takes on the threat of a deadly digital diva driven to destroy the world in this action-packed, all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess featuring a bonus pin-up and the other 2 books in the Cyber Goddess saga at online bookstores everywhere today.